welcome to the Orchid Hut. My name is Dana, and this is a one thing you need to know video about the importance of being a keen observer with your orchids. Well, first of all, what does it mean to be a keen observer? Well, it means more than just taking a glance at them every once in a while. It means slowing down and paying attention to details using your five senses. And hopefully, growing orchids is an enjoyable hobby for you. And when it comes time to taking care of them, you are able to give them the time that's required to be a keen observer as you handle each one. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about paying attention to the details of your orchid, and we're going to use the three orchids in front of us as examples. But before we get to the orchids, just so you know, every time one of these orchids was featured in a previous video, I'll provide a link in the upper right-hand corner of the video. Okay, so let's get started. And this isn't even about an orchid. It's about pecans. Well, you may have watched my radiata video a week or so ago, and I thought there was something seriously wrong with that orchid because different pseudobulbs and some of the new growth was dying. Well, as it turns out, the only thing that was wrong with that orchid was that a squirrel had been burying pecans in the media. And during that investigation of that orchid, while I was videoing, I found this pecan buried slightly below the media. And since that time, I have found two more pecans buried in the top part of the media of some of my orchids. So if I had not been paying attention to that, I would have never really understood what was happening. There's been a squirrel in my orchids. Okay, let's move on to the second example. This orchid I repotted in a video a few weeks ago. It's an oncidium type orchid, and when I repotted it, I was hoping that the new growth would be close enough to the media so that the roots could work their way down there. Well, there's the new growth, and there are the new roots, and I think it will be in really good shape to send those roots down into the media. So I have looked carefully at this orchid, I've paid attention to the details, and I see that what I was hoping would happen is actually happening. Okay, next orchid example. Now this orchid has never been featured in one of my videos. This is a Neophonetia, and it's potted in sort of the traditional Japanese moss mound. And you know, this orchid has been kind of like a plastic plant for the last 6 or 7 months. It really has not changed any at all. It hasn't grown a leaf. It hasn't dropped a leaf. It has just been the same, and I've been caring for it, and I knew when I put the moss around it that the roots were underneath that moss, and the only roots that were sticking out at the time when I put the moss around it were these two older roots right here. But now when I water it, I notice that there is new root growth right there. That's a new root tip. And then around on this side, there's a new root tip right there coming through the moss. And if I didn't go slowly with my orchids and observe carefully with my eyes, some of these details might be lost. And this is important because I know now that this orchid is beginning to start a growth phase, and that probably means I need to water and feed it a bit differently from what I've been doing in the past. So being a keen observer can help you take better care of your orchids. And then my last example falls under the category of, well, you need to be a keen observer if something is going wrong with your orchids. And this was a purchase at my local home improvement store, and you know, there's a couple of leaves here which have been progressively looking worse over the last few days, and two leaves at the bottom of this plant look the same way, but they were easy to pull off But something happened here. Something is causing this leaf to not do well, and it's in the middle of the cane. And then this is a top leaf that is not doing well. So I am paying attention that, something is not right here. And it also, it blasted the bloom that it had right here. So I have treated both of these spots, and I'm just watching carefully that it doesn't spread to even more parts of the orchid. So when you slow down and take the time to pay attention to the various details of your orchid, you can become a better grower. You can notice if what you hoped would happen is actually happening, and you can make plans, better plans for how to take care of your orchid in the days to come. Thanks so much for watching. Click the thumbs up button if you like this video or learned something new, and the subscribe button will be in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Talk with you next time.